For the last 6 years, I've been building factories, and it's only just occurred to me that perhaps I've been doing it wrong all along. Previously, I've built factories around using all the resources in an area for a given line, or if need, bringing more resources from all around the world to a factory in order to produce more of a given resource. Now, this has meant that the further into the game I get, the more of a strain on my logistics network, and the more trains that I add to a line, the higher the likelihood of traffic jams as trains are trying to get through the same section of line. Which is why having a direct conveyor line from one miner to a factory is often considered more efficient, not because it's faster, but because it's what throttles the line, and you can't get resources into a facility faster than a line's throughput. So why use trains? Well, trains allow you to bring a lot of resources in and have 2 line outputs. But if the trains aren't getting through in time, everything starts to seize up. And the drawback to having conveyors throughout the world is that it ends up covering your world in a bowl of spaghetti bouts, which is something that I'm not too keen on when it comes to logistics. So that is why I prefer using trains, and first and foremost, it's the rule of cool. Trains look cool. But if we're going to be building bigger from now on in the Let's Play series, we really do need to rethink logistics in our world. And when it comes to trains, though I'm dying for a way to direct trains onto a faster direct line and to choose a train station based on whether it's empty or not when a train's coming in, we have to work with what we've got, at least for the time being. You never know, Coffee Stain might have a little surprise up their sleeve for later on. So what I've done is come up with a potential solution which we'll be trialing over the next few episodes, and if it works well, we'll be expanding on it at a later date. Now, the issue, as I've mentioned with my current network, is that there are clear throttles to the network. We have trains dropping off produced items at the storage, and trains bringing base resources through the same lines, and trains taking produced items to another facility that needs those produced items as well. So how can we reduce the traffic on a given line? This is where I've started thinking about it vertically. Now, my plan is for the future trains that we build to run the base resources, things like the iron ore, copper ore, and the likes, along a single dedicated line. Then we'll be running produced resources along a secondary line, which will be above. It will look like a double train highway, essentially. But this would effectively halve the amount of trains on a given track, allowing for lines to run at a consistent or constant rate. And on top of this, rather than sending the base resources to each factory individually like we are now, using up extra trains, we'll produce all the base resources at large smelteries and then produce the base items from those factories to be then sent to the facilities that need them, removing further unnecessary trains on the lines. But of course, all of this at the moment is speculative, so I'm just going to have to get started with building the blueprints for the train line and then trial the system over the next few builds. So let's get into it. And that brings us to today. So we are up in the rocky desert, and the reason that we're here is the next big build that I'm going to be doing is the smeltery over in this area. Now, the smeltery is probably going to be the biggest build that I have done to date. We're looking at doing over 20,000 iron ingots per minute and then producing that into the said resources. So to actually set this up is going to require us to plan the build out a little bit in advance, and we're going to follow the probe method, which I discussed in the last Let's Play episode. If you don't know what it is, do check out the last episode. We talk about that at the start of the video. And basically the first thing that we need to work out is planning the sections, compartmentalizing it so we know what we're going to do. And for that, we are going to have to work out the logistics. That's what we're doing in this particular episode. We're going to set up all of the train line blueprints that we're going to use. And we will probably do a little bit of building the trains, but leave the rest until we're ready to actually get started on the build. The other thing that we need to set up is the water, and I'll probably do that outside of the video just because I'm going to have to do like 10 water extractors. It's going to be pretty boring, and just run that up to where the build will be, which will be in the top right of this particular shot. And that's where we're going to have the smeltery. But for that, we need to sort out the logistics. As it stands, the plan is to have all the resources enter from this roundabout. I'm a little bit concerned about the long-term viability of this if we have lots of trains going along here, so maybe we'll adjust this later on, but for now it should be fine. And then we'll obviously have the rest of the resources heading out on the top level if all goes to plan. So with that said and done, let's get started on the actual build, and we're going to want to use the blueprint designer. So first and foremost, we should probably set out a little workspace for us. We're going to use the Mark II blueprint for this, as it allows us to build slightly bigger, so we're not placing as many of these. Now the first thing that we're going to build is obviously the straight section. This is going to be a 2-level blueprint, and we're going to start off by placing 1 row of foundations and a second one either side. From inside here, I'm going to do a similar system to what we have. It's not here, it's over in that section, which has pillars just running slightly above the tracks. So it means that with the tracks running across, and we should also talk about this in a moment. For this, we're going to want to have a space and a half on one side and half a space of foundation between the railway. I'll cover that in a moment. But we're going to grab a 1 meter foundation, which you can see there. Then our small concrete pillars, we're just going to run those all the way across that side. And the reason that I do this is that if you see this on here, it actually looks like it's perfectly aligned and not actually clipping at all. So I think that's pretty sweet. Since 1.1, it is so much easier to build thanks to the new nudging system, and really does make life a whole lot easier. Next thing that we're going to do is to set up the second level. So I'm going to grab our concrete, do it from about here. Do need to make sure that we're going to be placing this high enough. So we know that the train there gives a fair bit of space. And I think we can probably place our walkway about here, like so. Next, let's add a shiny ramp underneath. Wonderful. On the outside, we can have our walls. We'll work out some way to make this look quite nice and decorated. We could actually do something like this. We grab that. Now we can vertically nudge these. Makes it so much easier to place. So place 1 there, then 1 either side. Then on the top, we're going to do the same with the train line. So we want the trains to be parallel on each level, so that when we come to using the snapping system, that they will snap where we want and connect easily with other blueprints. Let's grab now to just decorate this. I want some kind of separation in the middle. That will do. Try not to spend too much time on the design, because obviously this is going to be a very big build. But at the same time, I would rather spend a bit more time working on this and making sure that it's perfect in my eyes, so that when we come to using it around the world, it looks great, than to jump through it as quickly as possible and find that I need to adjust it every 30 seconds. It always pays to get it right when it comes to a blueprint. Place this here. Ooh, oh, I like that. Is it gonna stick through? Oh, it is. Nice. Okay, I think on the top we should kind of separate the build, maybe with a little iron wall. Oh yeah, if we have a little gap and then we paint this, that looks quite good. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like it. I feel like we need to cover this. Can we just get this half increment down? Oh, I want it in the middle. We could. There we go. So if we remove these now, I'm going to paint this orange like the smeltery lights that we've used previously. And then from here, all I need to do is nudge this across. It should be nice and easy. Voila. Same on this side. Then we're just going to redo these pieces. Nice. That's coming along quite nicely. Let me put some kind of beam across here. It's all right, I guess. Let's see what else have we got. That one. Oh, I like that. Okay. Let's stick with that. I'm going to do this on the other side now. And the other thing that I want to do is, I was thinking maybe we could have some kind of hypertube setup here. That way, if we want, we can implement maybe, if I find the time, some kind of hypertube launch system that we could just blueprint into the center of this, so that as you travel along the line, you can just veer off and launch yourself further. So we need some kind of accelerator in the future. Right, where are we? We could still use these round pieces, I guess. Maybe to there. Only problem would be if it clips, which it does. We have it's just above that section. So if we were to go like that, I think that's better. I feel this is a bit low, actually. What if we... Well, where's the H-beam gone? So I'll run that again over the top. But what if this time we run that on top of that? How would that look? That's better, at least in terms of height. Ooh. We're just layering these on top. I'd rather like that. I wonder if... we can. Okay. Let's lower that in. Oh, yes. This is it. This is the look that I want for the lower section. We can maybe go with a metal piece. That through there. We're going to need something along here. Maybe to keep it industrial, we go with the H-beam again. That is a pretty strong structure. I would love to have, maybe from these points, if we can branch them up to the wall pieces. Then we could also run these all the way along to give it more of a supported look. And if we repeat this on the other side, then we can maybe, yeah, we can hide the wires. So if we run a wire underneath, we'll be able to grab power from wherever we are, so we don't have to use the rails for that. But also, when it's getting dark like it is now, we could have a light. So if we grab these, I'm going to have to test it to see how badly it affects my FPS, but hopefully we'll be okay. I'm just going to run that up through the middle. Then we can have one of these, and we'll need to bring the power cable across to one another. Place that inside. Yes, here we go. That will then be brought down to that. I feel we should probably encase that with another H-beam, if we can. Wonderful. Anyway, I am going to, with this, I think, finish it and then show you the end product. And hopefully it will work as intended. Really, we should have tested it out first. I am really happy with how this is developing. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat this all on the other side, and then we will have a look at it and I guess try it out and see if it works. And here we are, ready to trial it. And from here now, Should be able to just see if this works. We've got a lovely straight piece. Can we? Oh, we can. Lovely. Vertically nudge that up. I'm going to also, just to make my life a touch easier, and that around to there, so we now have power. And now with 1.1, we should be able to connect these automatically. So if we go in our build mode and press R, we have the default auto connect, which will allow us to pick the position. But if we go with blueprint, you'll notice that these are going to, there we go, align. And so we should be able to just, look at that, go to auto connect, and now we can place them here. And we, hopefully just by double clicking, wonderful. We just need to check that this works by running a train on it. So I don't want to find they're not actually connected. Yeah, right. So that is that blueprint done. The next thing that I need to do is work out a curved variant followed by a few junctions, because we can now do junctions with the train blueprints in 1.1. By the way, all of these blueprints will be available on my Patreon channel if you're interested in checking them out yourself and don't want to go through the labor of building them. Though this has been quite an easy one. I will put a link to that below, and I will work out how we're going to do the curve. I think for the curve one, we're just going to have to delete all of this and then rebuild with just this section. So I've been getting started with the right turn here, and blooming hell, it is a pain to do because we have to do it all individually. Okay, so we're just going to nudge that up 4 across 4, then down 2. I get to drag that. But also the corners, I'm having to use these smaller signs because if I use a big one, it just looks really distorted. And the important thing, I don't need to show you all of this, but what I do need to show you is how we're going to do the curve in a moment. So if I just quickly do this section, there we go. And then replace that with a 4. I'll do that in a moment. The important thing here is that we work out how to get the curve right. So we could do it like this. I'm just worried this isn't going to be enough space. We'll try it out. I can always finish this if it works. If it doesn't, then we'll have to go back to the drawing board. Okay, moment of truth. So we're doing the blueprint auto connect again. Okay, it's not linking up immediately. I think that's it. Now, what I will show you, the reason that we're doing it this way, you can see that we've got a really clean curve. However, what I tried the first time when building this, if you place these all the way around to the edge, which you can do, and was what I thought would be best originally. And this is the same reason why we don't use it on the straight track, because if you do it one way, you have to do it the same way for all pieces. You can't have us running the rail all the way to the edge here and then doing it with a half foundation there, because you'll see in a moment if I just place this next to it. Now, if we put it as auto connect, you'll notice here that there's not enough room to place this section. So if we were to do this blueprint and the piece run all the way to the edge, from one edge to the other, we should be able to auto connect them. So if we go to blueprint auto connect and then we nudge this so that both or all pieces are showing. I mean, it'll let me place it there. It might be that it has to be a blueprint, I think, in order to do the snapping. So let's just, for now, not worry too much about that, but we will do it here. And then we nudge this down There we go. It's allowed us to connect it up. I wonder if these are connected or if it's just done the hypertube actually. I tell you what, I really like the new railway build system, which I didn't think I would enjoy. Okay. It's a little bit tight. No, okay. So that didn't connect. I know you can connect them like that. I have done it before, but obviously doesn't like it in this position. But also, if you look at it from here, you can see how there's this angular snapping point. I mean, these aren't connected, but you can see how it's done it on both pieces. Whereas if you do it the way that I suggest here with the half foundation gap one side and then a foundation and a half the other, you get this lovely smooth curve. So that's what I'm doing for this build. I'm going to just remove these. It's not even worth trying to work out. And the next thing that I want to do is see if we can sort out some kind of junction. I think we can. I'd quite like a option to do some kind of junction. So if I remove these, the important thing is to see if it's viable to do a junction. It's probably better for us to do a 2-line one. And then we can connect these up from one edge to the other. It doesn't allow me. Yeah, I'm gonna have to push it back. Oh, that's annoying. All right, we'll try this again. If we grab that, I'm gonna place it up towards the edge. Now with this one, it's gonna be a T-junction. So for this, we're gonna do it a little bit differently. We will manually, providing we don't crash, connect all of the joints together. So we don't need to worry about this half foundation distance or foundation and a half, because we're going to need to use the whole size of it, I suspect. So let's remove all of this, and then from here we're going to place it so that we have 2 foundations width, which is the same as this highway section. And then we need to connect this up there. That'll let me do it. And then underneath we can nudge this so that it's within this section. There we go. And we'll do this on top as well. So the moment of truth, if I grab this, let's see if we can. Okay, so we can go. Ooh. Wanting to do a full turn. Okay. I think what I need to do is straight piece first. Then connect this up. So we'll do that going off in this direction. Well, it really doesn't like that. But we can do it to there. Okay. Then we're going to have to do the same on the other side, which means we are going to have to get rid of the center section. In fact, we may have to get rid of these supports as well, because I think they're going to be in the way. Need them. Have I not pushed this to the end? I haven't. Oh, I'm a numpty. Again. Let's see if we can do it. So I have a feeling if we had a... If we were one space back... Yeah, we'd be able to make it. So I need to push this all back. We will get there eventually, I promise you guys. This is annoying. I need to place it here so that we can do that. So the only option I have is to place this temporarily, delete the edge, all of this section. We'll delete the lights as well. So I presume it's this that's stopping us from placing it. Same with all of these. Then we should be able to save this, and then we'll grab our test blueprint. Hopefully now we should be able to... There we go. Phenomenal. That's fantastic. So I'm going to repeat the same thing. You know, we'll just do the top section. If we can get the top section to work, we know we can do the bottom section. So for now, I'm just going to remove all of this. It'd be lovely if we could have the light in the center. So let's just leave it for now. We'll see if we can manage that. This goes around here. This goes around. I've worked it out. It's fine. If we can get it onto this one, we should be able to do it this way around. There we go. Oh, I'm such a numpty. This needs to go across to there. This one. And we even have room for the light. Although we might want to swap sides. So we can do it. It's just a little bit awkward. But that's great. Okay, so you can do the junctions within the blueprint designer. And then from here, all we're going to do is run this across. We'll do the same on the other side. And then this will run across to there. The only problem is we're going to have some Z fighting now. Not bad there, but to be on the safe side, I'm just going to turn these all asphalt. The other thing is whether we can do 4 ways. Okay, so junction is suitable. We can connect that all manually. We need to do a load more of these. I'm thinking another T junction with both sections. One with just a single one, because the reason that I'm doing this is we may have the highway, the rail highway, let's call it, going one way with the base resources, and then there might be a train station along, say, here, which needs to connect back onto the main track when it's picking up the produced resources. So we need a bit more flexibility with the different types. I'm not going to show you how I do each and every one of them because there's going to be so many, but once I've done that, we'll start working on the actual build. All right, are you in for a treat? So here we go. This is a 4-way blueprint that I have now done just on the top. But do not worry, we also have the same on the bottom. On top of that, we also have our T-junction on the top, our straight pieces, T-junction on the bottom. This is the right curve, and there's also a left curve. And I've managed to also do the railway roundabout. One thing that I have noticed is though I can place these down, I've tried putting them back into the blueprint designer, and because these are now classified as on the outside, it doesn't allow us to replace it back in the blueprint designer. So once you've placed these and then started adding the outer sections, you may find that you can no longer place it back into the blueprint designer. It's a little bug there, but you can see that we've done pretty well with getting all of these sorted. So the next thing that we need to do is kind of trial it. We're going to start working on this now. So the idea is that we can bring the train line to, say, this section, and it's here that we're going to have our first, if it works, our single piece of track. And eventually I intend to rework the whole of our railway system so that we don't have as many trains on this. But it all starts with getting this section all up and running. So from here, we can just blueprint that to the edge. We'll obviously have to... I wonder, actually. Ooh, I can connect that one up without any worry, and then we can manually connect these ones. So from this point onwards, we can now connect that. Oh, it'll be better if we flip it the other way around. Let's not do auto connect and connect these up. But the plan at this point is we will have a line going out this way. Ooh, hadn't thought that through. We're going to have to do some kind of ramp, I guess. I'll say that for another video. I don't want to do any more blueprints. So from here, we'll take the resources along, and we're going to have to turn off at some point. Let's just go straight for a little bit and set this to blueprint auto connect mode. Flip these around and just place these. And then we need to work out a good spot for us to veer off. Actually, here might not be too bad. I'm going to make sure that we're not auto connecting, and I'm going to have to redo these lines. That isn't an issue. We'll have a line going straight along. I don't know why yet. We'll figure out our reason why eventually, but I think it would be really nice if we kind of follow the river around. You know what? I think it might be better if we replace that with a low junction? Actually, that's a really good point. What we could do, thinking about it, is we have the low junction here, which takes the resources to the smeltery, and then on the top side, we'll have the line run across, bring the resources along the top. I think that'll look quite clean. There we go. Next thing, we're going to need to grab our old blueprints. So we have a series of these that are the 2 lines. I think it'd be nice to do this style, given that it's similar to what we have already. Okay, so with that in mind, let's go to blueprint mode. We'll run across what? 3. Just gonna run this all the way along so that we have power. Now this is all subject to change, I should mention. We might change this later on. This is a right curve, and we should be able to just bring that in there. Have our continued curve. Oh, we need to turn just a touch more, because otherwise we're going to collide with the cliff. So what might be best in this circumstance, once we bring the rail round, let's delete a section of this. We could probably go to there, and then we can return back to the straight piece. And this is going to be for all of our ores. I hope I can get rid of that with Nobilis. Oh, I've got no Nobilis, that's blooming typical. Should be good with that. Come on, don't do this. No! Okay, there's 2 ways to look at this. Either I have to go out one more section, or maybe you would never know. You'd never know. Okay. Except I know. I think we need to maybe just delete 1 piece rather than 2 here. It's just all these little adjustments which will make all the difference later on. But for now, it's just a little bit finicky. It's just a bit of a pain in the backside to do. But I promise you, it will be worth it. Mark my words. Okay, I can live with that little bit of clipping. And then we're just going to run this all the way across. And then we have a couple of options here. I haven't really thought about this too much. We can either bring the trains under in this area, or we can do it on this side. Now if we were to do it on this side, the good news would be that we could run the train. What side train are we running on? Right-hand drive. So we'd be able to turn into the train station and then turn back onto the main line without having to cross lines, which will increase the efficiency of our trains. Because if 2 trains arrive at the same junction and the rails are crossing, it's obviously going to have to stop one of the trains. But if we do it this way around, we'll have to cross the junctions, but the return journey should be fine. And that's providing we have enough space, because we're going to need, I don't know, I'd say 2 train stations for each resource. So if we have iron, copper, maybe caterium, we might have enough room. If not, we could do, say, the caterium over here, I think. Right. Let's finish this section of track. Okay, so we have started running that train line. I've also curved the train line on the bottom left here along the side of the river, which I really like the look of. We're going to have to make use of it, otherwise it's just a wasted opportunity. But from here, I need to work out where we're putting the train stations and also the return lines, because once the train stations are placed, we can then get started on the actual build and working out the blueprints for that and bringing the water in. We've been making some steady progress with this. I'm just doing the border at the moment. And then the idea is that we'll have to run these back around to the end, and then we'll have the train stations in the center. At least that's my thought process for the time being. Hopefully it will work. I think we're gonna head straight through this tree here. Do not worry too much about that. I will remove it eventually. But for now, let's just get on with the network, the layout, because once we've nailed that, we can clean it all up. Now, the problem if we turn too soon now, we're probably going to have to, what's the word, like counter our turn because it will be too soon. So I'm going to try and push this forwards a touch more. It looks like it would line up. Let's just give it a go. Okay, see if we can run it all the way to the end. So the good news, it lined up perfectly. In fact, we've nicely merged it back onto the track. There's only one thing, I screwed up. We don't need a return line. Because this is a train station, the idea would be for the train to turn, well, to run around the track and then turn into the station. And so we'd have 2 or 3 stations or 4 stations all in a line with our trains running into that. And then they will merge back onto the lines that they came from. So we don't need the line to continue all the way to the end. So the plan at the moment, in fact, we can probably start around here. I don't think we'll use this at all. We'll leave it for there just in case. I'm just going to delete all of this for now. Basically, the only section that we need is up to the corner, and then I need to start covering this in just foundations. So we'll have to clear out all of this area. Okay, let's push this back a bit more. And we'll start building this out. Oh, I need more Nobelisk. Don't worry, handcrafting came to the rescue, and now I can clear the area. Wonderful. Just a couple of pieces missing, but I'll come back to that later. Anyway, so now I can just cover all of this in. And once that's done, we can start placing down our train stations. And here we are with the first train station concept. So you can see how this is veering off the track. I've split it into 2, so we'll have 2 lines for the trains. The train will then come in, deposit its resources, and head along the track back to collect some more. I've also given us enough room at the back to ensure we have enough room for another train to queue if need be. That way it's not blocking up any of the main lines. So the next thing that we need to do is get all the resources out. Now, because we're going to be running a large smeltery, we're going to take all of the resources out as quickly as possible. So we're using our Mark 5 belts. We're also going to run them as a 2 output per station setup. Just going to run them all the way along here. And then from here, let's set up a second level. And the resources will head to about midway, and then they're going to head up into the actual facility. And then we're going to do this again. I'm hoping, at least for the time being, that having just 2 stations per resource, we will be suitable. So we're now going to place the second one here. Actually, that's pretty perfect. There we go, 1 more. And then we'll just place these the opposite side and run them all the way. I'm now going to do the same as this setup and hopefully run that into there. Nice. We now have the second station set up, and we're going to repeat the same now for another 2 across here. So these 2 that we've currently got are for iron, and then providing everything works as planned, these 2 will be for copper, and we'll do the same with Caterium over here as well. It's certainly taking a fair bit of time to set up, but I think having a good system for bringing in resources is going to pay off dividends later on. I've now got the next 2 stations down. These are for the copper, and I thought, you know what, we should probably talk about the signaling here because it's a little bit of a crisscross nightmare. So what's happening is we have the trains running along the right hand side, and they're going to head off into their stations. And what we've done at the end of this one is have, just before the fork, a pathing signal and then 2 block signals. So the pathing signal will mean that this is always kept empty and the train will only pass through if this is available. So we need to do the same for this section as well. And the idea with doing this is that it allows us to create a queuing system which doesn't back up to here. One thing that we have to bear in mind though is that if we have trains coming out this way, they are going to be crossing this line. So we will need to do a pathing system here. So we're going to have a path signal going into this little junction, followed by a block signal. And then on the opposite side here, we're going to have, heading into this junction from the other side, another pathing signal. And so the trains will only path through here if they can go to this point, or if they can go through to these points. So that is what we're doing there. And also, if we wanted to do the same here, but to be fair, all we really need on this side is going to be some block signals, because they're all merging into the same direction. With those done, the next thing that I want to do is set the same thing up on this side. This won't take me too long. And we're just going to make sure that we have enough space for 2 more stations for our Caterium. And then once we do that, I mean, we won't need to worry too much about the conveyors, because we're going to have to send them over, and we don't know how big this is going to be. I know it's going to be big because it's going to be something like 20,000 iron ingots, and probably the same for the copper ingots as well. So it might be that we have to do the Caterium this side. Oh, actually, we've got Caterium right here. Why didn't I think of that? Oh well, we'll bring more Caterium in. It's fine. All right, so I will do this, and then we'll talk about the next plan of action. The good news is that we have now done the train stations here, and I realized that we need to run the conveyors up and around here if they're going to come around to this side. So it really depends what's going to happen when it comes to smelting. So we're not going to touch on these anymore. However, I thought I'd be smart and bring this line up and then across and round onto the right side of the track. And it's just not working. So we're actually going to undo all of this. I thought it would be much cleaner to set the track up so that we just merge onto the same side. There's no crossing, but it's more effort than it's worth. So what I'm going to do here, I think, is just these both merge onto here, and then this will run along to the side, and then we're going to merge it onto, well, probably around here. The only problem with this is that if we're running the train around to here and it arrives just before the junction, we're potentially creating a traffic jam opportunity. So we're going to have to keep a close eye on it. And finally, just connect that. I think we can snap these in place as well to cover it up a little bit better. I can sort that out in a little bit. But the important thing is now we have done it. We have managed to set up the start of our train highway, the double tier one. We've also set up our train stations ready for our massive smeltery, which is going to be a huge episode in itself. And to get that started, we now have our resources prepped. We will need to do the mines to extract them. But the next thing for us would be to run a pipeline, or several pipelines from over there, extracting water and bringing it across to our pure smeltery. But we're going to leave it there for today. I feel like we haven't done that much because it's just a couple of train stations and the train highway. But it makes sense to break it down into the logistics side of things so that you can see how we're setting it all up. The blueprints do take a little bit of a time building, and with the logistics in place, I can send that off to a biome and start harvesting them, and then we can have, hopefully, with a little bit of luck, the smeltery for at least the iron section all in one episode, and then we'll have the iron factory that produces iron in the second, or well, third episode even. So yeah, let me know if you think this system is going to work, or if you think it's going to fail. Who knows? We only find out through experimentation. But guys, we are going to leave it there. If you're wondering what to watch next, why not check out my factory save tour? It's the tour of this particular save, and you may even get a little premonition as to what's to come. I'll leave that in the end card now. Special thanks, as always, goes to all of our incredible supporters on Patreon who make content like this happen. Most notably, our Lunar Eclipse Patrons, Firefless the Calamity, Ben, Star, and Seeker Kala, as well as our Blood Moon of the day, which today is King Zoron. Until next time, as always, ciao for now.